Good morning, it's Friday, the 20th day of June 2025, and it's 10 o'clock. That means, of course, trading has opened for the day on the floor of the Nigerian Exchange in Lagos, Abuja, and at the Ontario Exchange. A day of business has also started in Onitsha, Aba, Enugu, Port Harcourt, Abakaliki, Asaba, Owerri, wherever you are. Good morning to you. My name is Nnamdi Obaya, and you're welcome to the Afia Business Morning. Talking about capacity for the media industry in the region, about power to make meters locally, plus all the business news from around the region. And of course, as you know, trading on the floor of the Nigerian Exchange is open for today. The exchange in London opened an hour ago. New York Exchange is yet to open, while in China, the exchange is opened at 2 a.m. local time. We'll be looking at how the markets closed yesterday, an opening bell, as well as news from around the region on the Eastern Business Report. But first, the Afia News updates.
Many thanks for staying tuned to Afia TV. This is News Update, and I am Ogochukwu Osai. On the News Update, Imo State Police Commissioner Boki Danjuma has warned officers and men of the command against the improper use of firearms, reminding them that there is no such thing as accidental discharge in police force. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has sealed off France, Belgium, and Italy visa centers located at the Mukta El Yakubu House, Central Business District, Abuja. Still in Abuja, the federal government, in partnership with the World Bank and other development agencies, has reaffirmed its commitment to improving rural infrastructure and access through the scale-up of the Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project. And on the foreign scene, Finland's parliament has voted in favor of withdrawing from Ottawa Convention that bans the use of anti-personnel landmines amid concerns over a military threat posed by neighboring Russia. And finally, from the world of sports, Nigerian 400-meter hurdle sensation Ezekiel Nathaniel has been named among the final contenders for the prestigious 2025 NCAA Track and Field Athlete of the Year award, following a string of record-breaking performances that saw him dominate the collegiate athletics circuit in the United States this year. And that's all on the News Update. For more information, visit our website. Follow us on all social media platforms at Afia TV Official. I am Ogochukwu Osai. Many thanks for watching.
This is the Afia Business Morning, broadcasting live on Afia TV, channel 254, DSTV, 17 Go TV, and of course 748 Free TV from the beautiful city that is, of course, Enugu. My name is Nnamdi Obaya. The NGX ended yesterday on a high, but it's the reverse in London, China, and the US. Plus, why is the rural-urban wealth gap widening? Stay tuned to find out. Opening bell starts right now. Closed on a high, but it dips in London, the US, and China. We'll be looking at how the markets ended as well as our commodities reports. But first, let's take some news stories, beginning with news from the currency market, where we learn that the Naira stabilized at around 1,549 Naira against the US dollar in the foreign exchange market as the Central Bank of Nigeria conducted FX intervention, injecting about $41 million to boost FX inflows in the official market and to enhance liquidity following a surge in corporate demand for dollars in the previous day. The US dollar injected was sold to authorized dealer banks at the rate of 1,546 Naira and 15 kobo and 1,550 Naira, a drop when compared with last month. In May, the Apex Bank used $580 million to defend the local currency, and the exchange rate has continued to trend positively against the dollar. Meanwhile, on the other hand, gross external reserves have declined below $38 billion after a series of FX outflows. Moving to news from the economy, and the National Pension Commission has warned that organizations that fail to comply with pension remittance obligations will be blacklisted from the 10th of November 2025. The warning was issued on Wednesday in Lagos by the Director General of PENCOM, Ms. Omolola Oloworaron, during the Commission's second quarter media briefing, where she also noted that this was to reinforce PENCOM's adoption of its zero-tolerance approach to non-compliance with the Pension Reform Act of 2014. Oloworaron further stated that the Commission was seriously committed to rejigging the pension industry to achieve a more robust and inclusive system that supports sustainable economic development, adding that the group would work with lawmakers to institutionalize needed reforms and strengthen the legal framework governing the pension sector. And finally, staying with news from the economy, and we learned that the three tiers of government on Wednesday shared the sum of 1.659 trillion naira as revenue allocation for May. This was disclosed in a communique from the Director of Press and Public Relations Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, Mr. Bawa Mokwa, issued at the end of the Federation Account Allocation Committee meeting in Abuja. According to the communique, the 1.659 trillion naira total distributable revenue comprised statutory revenue of 863.895 billion naira and value-added tax of 691.714 billion naira, with the total gross revenue of 2.942 trillion naira, which was available in May. The allocation also comprised electronic money transfer levy of 27.667 billion naira and exchange difference of 76.614 billion naira, with total deduction cost of collection at 111.908 billion, while total transfers, interventions, and refunds were 1.17 trillion naira. From the total distributable revenue, the federal government received the sum of 538.004 billion, while the state governments received a total sum of 577.841 billion, and the local governments received 419.968 billion, while the sum of 124.06 billion naira, 13% of mineral revenue, was shared to the benefiting states as derivation revenue. Okay, let's dive straight onto the floors of our featured exchanges, starting on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, where the NGX All-Share Index yesterday closed on a high, rising by 0.92%, a gain of 1,074.26 points, to close at 117,861.3 points. A total of 893,965,052 shares valued at 22,029,338,745 naira and 67 kobo were traded across 17,257 deals with equity capitalization of 74,358,774,995,440 naira and 50 kobo. The biggest gainer of the day was the Ikeja Hotel, which rose by 10%, while other top gainers were Better Glass, Legend, UPL, and Eterna. On the other hand, Guinea Insurance topped the losers list with a 9.21% decline, while other losers were H. McCall, CI Leasing, MC Nichols, and Fitson. Straight to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, where it's, well, practically almost all dips in index values across board. The NYSE Composite is down by 0.09%, US 100 index down by 0.31%, Dow Jones Industrial Average down by 0.1%. No movement on the S&P 500 index, NYSE FANG and SIM index down by 0.36%. Tech stocks, Nasdaq Composite up by 0.13%, Nasdaq 100 having a very marginal, almost not readable rise. And onto the floor of the London Stock Exchange, and it's time. It's all dips. FTSE 100 down by 0.58%, FTSE 250 down by 1.02%, FTSE 350 down by 0.64%, and the FTSE All-Share Index is down by 0.64%. Moving on to China and onto the floor of the Shenzhen Exchange, and it's still all dips. The Shenzhen component is down by 1.21%, SNSE Composite down by 1.5%, and the Chinex index is down by 1.36%. Staying in China, but this time the floor of the Shanghai Exchange, and it's even more dips. SSE Composite is down by 0.79%, SSE 50 down by 0.54%, Star 50 also down by 0.54%. It's a 78% drip for the SSE 180, SSE 380 down by 0.95%, and the CSI 300 index down by 0.82%. We'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be looking at our commodity prices as well as our consumer price watch in the open markets and asking, why is the wealth gap widening? Opening bell. We'll be right back. I'm Nnamdi Obaya, and you're welcome back to Opening Bell on the Afia Business Morning on Afia Television, channel 254 DSTV, 17 Go TV at 748 on Free TV, broadcasting live from Coal City. Now it's time to check in on our commodity prices, and we begin with our precious metals, and it's upward movement for gold. Gold is up by 0.11%, trading at $3,372.73 per troy ounce. Palladium up by 0.24%, platinum down by 0.46%, and silver down by 0.79%. It's trading at $36.47 per troy ounce. Energy prices, natural gas up by 2.69%, coal down by 0.34%, Brent crude up by a staggering 3.5%. It's now trading at $78.74 per barrel. Good news for Nigerian planners and projectors with our crude benchmark at $75 per barrel. Bonny Light crude over 300 days now of no action on that. For Brass River, it's up by 1.44%, trading at $79.35 per barrel, just under $80 and $4.35 above the crude oil benchmark. And Kwa Ibo up by 1.44 as well, trading at $79.40 per barrel. Industrial metal prices, aluminum down by 1.22%, lead is up by 0.67%, copper down by 1.32%, nickel is up by 0.44%, zinc is down by 0.15%, and tin is down by 0.02%. All right, we'll take a look at our personal commodity prices in the open market. And we're still continuing with drops of price. We'll have a special on a drop of price in Enugu later on his business report to the Auto Business. But still down, food still going down. Bag of rice, till we make the announcement that now as at the close of business yesterday, still going for about 90,000 in Enugu, 100,000 in other places in the southeast. Gets as low as 80 85,000 in Aba, 85,000 in Aba. Lagos, you could see as low as just under 60,000, but on the average is 65, between 63, 65, 68 in Lagos, and about 70,000 in Abuja. The 4-liter basin going for between 10 and 15,000. Enugu on the higher side of things. Prices of beans, probably the most consistent, still between 60, 65,000, but most places at 65,000 in the country. The 4-liter basin, or one pinta, as people like to call it, about 6,000, though Lagos is marginally lower. Gari prices, a bag going for between 80 and 90,000. Places like Enugu, Port Harcourt, on the higher side of things. 4-liter basin has, in some places, started selling at about 2,005 for the 4-liter basin or one pinta. Some places, however, still selling around 4,000, everything averaging around 3,005, of course, down from as high as 5,000 naira. Prices of yams going for between 4 and 6,000. Again, Lagos, again, Enugu on the high side of things. The same thing for plantains. Plantains in some places going as high as 15, 20,000, but on the average between 8 to 12,000 in the region. Of course, places like Enugu on the high side, the closer you are to agrarian communities, it's cheaper. But of course, plantain season and insecurity in the farms affecting prices of plantains, especially in the middle belt and in the southeast right now. Cooking oil prices, palm oil still going for between for about 10,000. Lagos higher than the national average. Same thing goes for 25 liters, which goes for about 50,000. Lagos also well above the average. Groundnut oil prices going for between 15 to 18,000. Enugu, Lagos among the higher places. Same thing for 25 liters, which goes for about 40 to 60,000. And again, places like Enugu and Lagos are higher than most places. Vegetable oil prices, splitting mirror image of groundnut oil prices, with again Lagos and Enugu having higher prices for the commodity of groundnut oil. Of course, like I said, we'll have a special commodity report on the Eastern Business Report later on how prices have dropped for rice. You don't want to miss that. But we'll go on one final break, and when we come back, well, the world, Nigeria economy is getting better, but the world gap is widening. Nigeria getting praises from IMF, getting praises from World Bank, but the rich getting richer, poor getting poorer. If you want to find out how, join us when the opening bell returns. You're still on the Afia Business Morning, and you're welcome back to Opening Bell on Channel 254 DSTV, 17 Go TV, of course 748 Free TV. I'm Nnamdi Obayan. Now, Nigeria's economy is growing on paper, but in reality, the poor are getting poorer, and more people are getting poor and becoming poorer. Nigeria is measuring success with World Bank and IMF metrics, not the people on the ground. And these metrics are saying we are growing. So why are you and I not feeling it? Let's get into it. In recent months, we've had back-to-back dips in inflation rates. Exports have increased, and import dependency, depending on who you ask, is reducing. Also, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, the economy grew at a rate of 3.4% last year, which is the highest growth since 2019, except, of course, for the post-COVID anomaly into 2021, when all the businesses that had closed reopened, creating an artificial boost. So I know you are wondering when this economic growth happened, because it hasn't affected you. Everything is more expensive, and the real value of money has dropped like a stone. I know your mind is not playing tricks on you. The truth is, even while the economy grew, Nigeria's poverty profile worsened. Now, the international vultures like the IMF and the World Bank are applauding Nigeria for our so-called economic reforms, like the removal of fuel subsidies, floating of the naira to liberalize the foreign exchange market, and the maintenance of a contractionary monetary policy, which is set up to rein in inflation, but at the cost of raising interest rates, reducing money supply, and increasing borrowing costs. So I'm sure you're already seeing the issues. If borrowing costs are going up, then imagine the cost of production and also the cost of trade. So while our financial sector people may be smiling at these reforms, the average Nigerian is not. Because while the World Bank and Co are singing our praises, singing to our ill-advised and ill-implemented reforms, they have also acknowledged the fact that the country's poverty profile has worsened badly. In 2024, we had a poverty rate of about 46%. In comparison, prior to COVID-19, the pandemic that is, 31% of Nigerians lived in poverty. Since then, another 42 million have slipped below the poverty line. Now, this is not even the worst picture. If other quality of life indices had been implemented, the picture painted would even be far worse. If the multidimensional poverty index, which considers access to good education, good healthcare, affordable and available quality housing, available and healthy food, proper sanitation, electricity, clean, potable water, if that had been used, our poverty index would have been almost, affecting everybody as a poor person and would have been some of the worst. Because the truth is, you and I know that there's nowhere in Nigeria, even the so-called, top luxury areas that have all these people, all these things. They don't have these facilities we're talking about. People dig their own boreholes. Good education is too expensive. And for most people, houses are not worth their costs. We have no sewage treatment. Refuse dumps are everywhere unattended. And there is open defecation, especially in crowded urban areas. Now, another thing we do not want to miss is that this poverty we are talking about is even much worse in Nigeria's rural communities. In those communities, 75.5%, that is 3/4 of them, live on less than $2.15 a day. Please note that this amount converts to about 3,000 to 4,000 naira a day for a whole family. And we all know that a lot of families live on much less, even in the urban areas. Now, bear in mind that in comparison, the average poverty rate for sub-Saharan African countries was 36.5% in 2024, which means that Nigeria is the one raising the poverty rate. Giant of Africa indeed, giant of poverty. And rural poverty should not surprise you, because the reasons are many. But let's look at the key ones. The major driver of rural economies in Nigeria is agriculture. Most rural dwellers in Nigeria rely on agriculture as their only source of livelihood. But because of limited access to funding, modern technology, and outdated agricultural practices, their productivity is often very low, which makes it difficult to save and invest in the quality of life line items like education, health, housing. Then we have insecurity, which is compounding issues by chasing farmers away from farmlands and making the output even lower. The crops are also destroyed by cows which are brought on people's farms without their consent. There's also another downside. The insecurity is scaring development away from these areas. Normally, manufacturing companies who need a lot of land, to set up their factories should be rushing to these places. But they now prefer to cramp their factory, with most of those migrating to urban centers having low skills or low income. This means that at their arrival, when they get here, they won't be able to get good accommodation in the urban areas, which will be more expensive than where they're coming from. This, of course, will lead to the need to settle in and expand the slum dwellings in the city. Add to that the fact that the low skill and limited jobs means a large pool of recruits for crime, prostitution, and other vice-enabling sources of income. Now, a challenge for our policymakers is how to translate their impressive macroeconomic outcomes in economic policy approach. Now, we look at, major economic drivers and how we need to change them. And the truth is that all these government policies that go with economic drivers are textbook policies that benefit the countries and institutions that will continue to benefit from giving us crude back loans. If Nigeria wants to fix our economy, they need to do things directly. First, we need to ramp up local production and expand our value chains. How? by giving incentives to manufacturers, refiners, and those involved in all stages of processing raw materials. Make land in rural areas available, invest in agriculture, invest in power, stop insisting on funny monetary policies and market interventions. The CBN has used over $1 billion this year to protect the naira. If that money from the reserves had been pushed into the economy, we could have been more productive. That's direct push to people. Now, Nigerians are largely found in the informal sector, which accounts about 90% of employment in the country. So you need to set a framework that allows people to offer services to these big industries that will be popping up everywhere. So instead of telling Nigerians to be patient for economic reforms to have a positive impact on their living conditions, the government needs to be intentional about bottom-up economic growth. That's the only time that these macroeconomic policies will be able to assist in raising the standard of living. And I'll leave it at that. We'll go on a quick break as opening bell is done, but the business morning continues. Don't forget that opening bell will return tomorrow when the exchanges reopen for trading. You can also watch episodes of the Obaya monologue on our YouTube page. Go to Afia TV official on YouTube and enjoy. But when we come back on the Afia Business Morning, what are the issues with the media in the region? We'll be talking to media development, social transformation and environment expert, Mr. Aro Leonard, about data and capacity issues affecting media in the Southeast and South-South regions. And you don't want to miss that. The Afia Business Morning will be right back. This morning, and now it's time to hone in on the business environment in the Eastern region. And today we're taking a special report from Abakaliki here and talking about data and capacity issues affecting media in the Southeast and South-South regions with media development, social transformation and environment expert Mr. Aro Leonard, and I assure you, you want to stay with us for that. I'm Nnamdi Obaya, and this is the Eastern Business Report. Individual metering be prioritized to promote fairness and accountability. During the visit, Group Managing Director of Geometric Power Group, Mrs. Agatha Naji, disclosed that Aba Power is leading for local and foreign firms to assemble smart electricity meters in Aba. While it's yet to be revealed whether the companies will produce exclusively for Aba Power or also for the other 11 discos in the country, sources say the meters are likely to be for only Aba Power for now, but later will produce for other electricity companies in the country. And staying in Abia, and landowners and community representatives affected by the Abia Airport project in Nsulu, Isialangwa North local government area of the state, has sparked further controversy by condemning what they call blatant lies and confusion surrounding the acquisition of their ancestral land and the subsequent compensation process. They accuse the state government of manipulation, incorrect land measurements, and questionable representation acts which they say are fueling growing dissatisfaction among those affected by the ambitious project. The suit, which was brought by some Sulu landowners and is challenging the state government's plan to take over their land for the proposed airport project without due process, is in court, and the state High Court sitting in Okwalangwa had ordered the state government to stay further action on the land matter pending the hearing and determination of the suit. And went to Anambra, where the Anambra State House of Assembly has expressed deep concern over the negative impacts of illegal mining activities in parts of Aguleri, Anambra East local government area. This was revealed during a visit to the area by the House Committee on Petroleum and Mineral Resources, led by the chairman, Honorable Chidebere Ibemeka, during which the lawmakers described the environmental degradation, particularly coastal erosion and severe road damage caused by unchecked sand mining activities in the area. Also during the visit, the committee chairman, Honorable Ibemeka, assured that the House will take decisive steps to hold the operators accountable and ensure that host communities benefit from the natural resources extracted from their land, while Majority Leader of the House, Ikenna Fodeme, condemned the level of lawlessness and environmental degradation being witnessed in the area. And on to Enugu, where we hear that traders at the popular GSM market Enugu have openly rejected a motion reportedly passed by the Enugu State House of Assembly during the state urging, the state government to relocate them to the Trade Fair shopping complex located at Gulf Estates GRA Enugu. Speaking with journalists in Enugu yesterday, the traders expressed dismay that the State Assembly endorsed what they described as a scheme by real estate promoters to mislead the public by presenting the relocation as a government project in order to boost patronage. The traders, who have appealed to Governor Peter Mbah to intervene, argued that the proposed location is a private venture and not a government initiative, with some of the traders saying the move came as a shock to them. Also speaking to the press, the chairman of GSM Village Market Phase 2, Daniel Uzo, called on state government to disregard the motion, warning that it could disrupt the livelihood of thousands of traders and artisans, and also advised the House of Assembly to carry out due diligence before passing motions, as such decisions have far-reaching effects on the lives of ordinary citizens. And finally, from Imo, where in a bid to regulate land administration in the state, the Imo State House of Assembly has proposed a law which would mandate a comprehensive digital transformation of land documentation to enable traceability, accessibility, and centralized monitoring across the state, thereby making administrative processes easier, faster, and more effective. The law, which awaits Governor Hope Uzodimma's assent, will replace the State Lands Administration and Geographical Information Service Law No. 3 of 2021 and aims to enhance the efficiency and accessibility of land documents. According to the chief sponsor of the bill and Deputy Speaker of the Assembly, Amara Iwanyahu, the law will make land administrative processes easier, faster, and more effective while promoting transparency in all land transactions. We'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be taking special reports from Abakaliki and Enugu, and we'll also be talking to legendary content producer as well as media development, social transformation, and environment expert, Mr. Aro Leonard. And he'll be with us to talk about data and capacity issues affecting media in the Southeast and South-South regions. And trust me, you don't want to miss that. The Eastern Business Report returns shortly. Afia Biz this morning. I am Nnamdi Obaya, and today we'll be joined by media development, social transformation, and environment expert, Mr. Aro Leonard, to talk about data and capacity issues affecting media in the Southeast and South-South regions. But first, a follow-up report from Ebonyi on reactions to the commencement of commercial flights at the Chuba Okadigbo International Airport. Now, residents of Abakaliki, Ebonyi State, have expressed appreciation for the recent commencement of commercial flight operations at the Chuba Okadigbo International Airport. The inaugural flights have been hailed as a significant development for the state. Afia TV correspondent Chijoke Unjoku, who toured the Abakaliki metropolitan area, gathered various reactions from residents eager to share their thoughts on this milestone.
Flight at Chuba Okadigbo International Airport represents a hopeful turning point for the residents of Ebonyi State, signing a better future for travel and economic opportunities in the state. Mr. Jacob Ogodo, a resident who described the launch of commercial flight as a welcome development for the community, emphasized the positive implication it holds for enhancing connectivity and stimulating local businesses.
Yes, finally, at last, the Okadigbo International Airport on Reke in Ebonyi State has commenced commercial flight operation. It has finally commenced. To me, it is a welcome development. Not only that, Ebonians are happy. You know the amount of money that was expended in building and constructing that airport. After the construction, it was as if it will not boost the economy. But finally, commercial operations have started. People are coming from Lagos to that airport, from the airport to Lagos, from Abuja to that airport. Really, Ebonians are very, very happy for that. And then it has showcased Ebonyi. It has written the name of Ebonyi in a world map.
Mr. Songago, another resident, highlighted the economic potential of new flights, noting that they would not only boost the state economy but also create new job opportunities for the populace. He urged the state government to maintain this momentum for sustained growth.
I'm very happy with it. It's a welcome development because if other states should have their airport and Ebonyi has their own airport, I don't think it is a crime, because this is going to develop our state. It's going to boost the economy. It's going to further create openings for new jobs for people who don't have jobs. Like now, people have been employed by the airport. Not to talk of when it goes into full operation. It's going to attract tourism. And Ebonyi State is going to become a synergy for people. And it's also going to open the state furthermore for investors to come in.
Chief Nnamdi Akpa, a stakeholder from a hot and local government area, commended the state government for initiating the flight operations. He specifically praised the subsidized ticket fares introduced during the launch, which he believed would encourage more residents to travel.
People. Yes, it's very, very welcome development, and I have to commend the governor of Ebonyi State for this breakthrough. Now, people can travel from here, not going to Enugu again, or going to Asaba. You just take a taxi to Onyeke, which is very train through, and entire plane to anywhere you want to go. And I must commend the Commissioner for Aviation and Technology, because the woman have done well. In fact, I asked, why did they create a woman? She's supposed to be a man. She have done well, and the parents are very happy to Governor and her.
Furthermore, Mr. Ejike Ikele, a resident of Ebonyi, expressed gratitude towards the governor for his commitment to making the airport operation, despite the numerous challenges encountered at the beginning of his demonstration.
This is a welcome development, because before now, for you to board a flight, you have to travel one way from here to Enugu. And most times, when you get to Ikobinago, you'll be trapped by traffic there. So in most cases, you miss your flight. But there was a time we had to go to Abuja for a editorial meeting, and we were told that you have to take flight so that they will reimburse you when you get to Abuja. But at the end of the day, I missed my flight because of the traffic. I met at Kubinago Junction there. So now it just take me a very few minutes. I'll just get to Oneke and board a flight and go to where I'm going to. So I'm just appealing to Ebonians to celebrate this government for having deemed it necessary not to allow the airport to become a moribund project. So it's a welcome development, and I love it.
In Abakaliki, Chijoke Njoku reporting Pacha TV.
Thank you for that report, Chijoke. We hope it's continuous smooth takeoffs and landings from Ebonyi for a very, very long time. All right, we'll take another report, this time a commodity report from Enugu, a special one on the price of rice as it drops at Old Artisan Market. And a recent survey of prices at the Old Artisan Market reveals that there's a comparative drop in the price of rice. Afia TV Sibelu Densi has more on this and other commodities. Take a look.
At the Old Artisan Market, here to find out the prices of commodities in comparison between last month and this month. This is commodity prices. Please come with me as we go around to find out the prices of commodities.
Price of then and now, difference is clear. So rice is cheaper this month now, this current now, than last month. Last month is 170,000. 160, but now it's 140, 130. This is 150. Yes. This month is 150. Gari is coming down. Like last month, the biggest gari is 85, 90,000. But now it's 75,000.
Last month, 4,000 corn, 4,045. Then this one, the same price. Bag of rice, like which one? Like this foreign rice, this local rice, Abakweke rice, 50 kg is 65,000 last. But Hausa rice is 60,000, 58, 59. Why this one is foreign rice? The bag is 110,000, 108,000, depending on the make of the rice you need. Patasco bag is 140,000, 130,000. White penta is 5,000, 5,005. The iron beans, the same price, 140,000. Penta 6,500, 6,000. Gari penta is red one is 4,000 naira, 3,800 last. The white one is 3,000, 2,800 last.
Plantain depends on the size. Corn is 2,000. The price is getting higher, self. Like last 2 months, we buy, like say a bunch, 12,000, 10,000. But as for this month up, we buy 25,000, 15,000, depending on the size of it.
A basket of tomato, Joss, is 7,000. One pint is 8,000. If you sell less than 8,000, the money no go reach. A bag of pepper, that's the time when they buy bag of pepper, 160,000. But now don't reduce. You will get 100 and you get 40 something, 46 or 47. One pint of it is some they sell 8,000, 9,000. A bag of onions is 170,000 now. Half of it is 85.
Ugo bụ 500. Ụfọdụ na-ekekwa 200, o depende odeka ụgwọ igote. And n'ime 500 anyị na-erekwa 300, anyị na-ere 400, o depende ka odeka mmadụ bịakwute gị. O depende ka ishi wee gote shiri otu ahụ wee re. So like 2 days ago na ugo adịrọ na ugo gote ụfọdụ jere ahịa gbara aka nata. So mana anyị na-erekwa normal price. Anyị na-ere 200, anyị na-ere 400, anyị na-ere 300, o nwere officing price. Green bụ nke na-adịrọkwa kịta acha. Daddy chọọ ọgụ green ekwu. Daddy na ụgwọ ebe anyị chọọ water leaf 500. Ego ne ka ihe egokwa na ya daddy bịa o. So green adịrọ kịta. Green adịrọ kịta. Ya na-eke green bụ 200, 250.
The market commodity of things, I don't think is even cheaper. Or is still going higher and higher, because it's not what you buy today, you buy tomorrow. Each time you come to market, the commodity of things used to increase. Understand? So we that even buying, at times if you come to market, you hold up to 10,000, cannot even afford it to buy up to 2 items you want to buy. The money will finish. Be looking for the money you have. It will be exhausted. So that is the thing. Last month, no, it's not. Once you buy this month, you used to put money, like I said, used to increase and put money every day by day. It's not what you buy this month that you buy last month. So
Like let me say that last month is a bitter. That is not just better than this month. Understand?
Yes, you've heard it your own ears. The difference between the prices of commodities between last month and this month. Some prices have increased, of course, while some other commodities have reduced in price. Is that a good change or a bad change? I don't know. You tell me. We are at Old Artisan Market, and I am Sylvia Ludensi reporting for Afia TV.
Thank you for that report, Sybil. Hopefully, prices continue to go down for the benefit of everybody. We'll go on another quick break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by media development, social transformation, and environment expert, Mr. Arrow Leonard, to talk about the data and capacity issues affecting media in the Southeast and South-South regions. The Eastern Business Report returns shortly. Business report on the Afia Business Morning. I'm Nnamdi Obaya. The media in the Southeast and South-South faces a lot of challenges, from funding to patronage to availability of equipment and infrastructure. But two key things that stand out are lack of data on businesses, governmental and non-governmental agencies, populations, brands, as well as data on regional media for brands and agencies outside the region. While the other key issue is capacity for specialized roles within the industry. The absence of prominent and a pervasive media structure in the region means that there is a dearth of professionals who can engage in media activities. The question is, what do we do about this? And to help us analyze and answer the question is media development, social transformation and environment expert and legendary producer, Mr. Aro Leonard. Good morning and good to have you here.
And it's great to be on Afia. This is my first time on Afia TV. Surprisingly. It
had to be me. It had to be me. It was always going to be me. Good to have you on this morning.
Yeah.
Let me start from here. You've seen many stations at their inception, and you've been able to see the trajectory of many stations from conception to inception and to going forward. Now, in the Southeast and South-South, there seems to be a very, very peculiar problem. Mainly, let's start with capacity. There isn't a lot of capacity, particularly for television in the region. And many have blamed it on lack of TV stations in the region. But we saw other places when private television stations even first started. It almost seemed as if there was talent already available. And the region has always had NTA and state television. So why is there a capacity issue whenever a media house wants to take off in this region?
I don't think there's really a capacity issue. I think it's just harnessing the talent that is there. There can be a capacity issue in the Southeast, as far as I'm concerned. I'll give you a little bit of history. For instance, our own Dr. Kevin Ejiofor is still living, at 80-something years old, he's still strong. I believe he still drives himself.
I still spoke to him a couple of days ago.
Exactly. Now, we have those kind of people there. We have the, in fact, the best names. For instance, let's even take popular actor Pete Edochie. I remember initially I didn't know that he was even on radio till my former colleague Ellen Bassi told me that she did a youth service under him there in this your same Enugu, which was one of the ESBS in Enugu gave birth to a lot of stations across the country. Now, the Southeast exported a lot of talent to the other parts of the country. So I don't think it is like that. Now, if you even check it today, check some of the wonderful broadcasters you have, even in the country today, you will see their link to the Southeast. So it's about harnessing this talent. Now, you find out that there is a culture. If you listen to a lot of Southeasterners, and of course my South people too, we have our own style different. Now, if you listen to a lot of Southeasterners, those who speak good English, even when you listen to the politicians, even some of the Agbero-like politicians, you find the way they speak. You find the way they comport themselves. You find out that when you have them on air as guests in front of the camera, there's always something, natural and special that they just fit in. I'm not trying to bring down some other parts of the country, but there's something natural about it in the Southeast. So it is there in the blood. But I think what is happening is the lack of media owners, even the state governments, people generally in the Southeast, the lack of that ability to know how to harness this talent. You could have abundant talent. It's just like Nigeria, for instance, has some of the, as far as I am concerned, we have the most skillful footballers in the world, not the Brazilians. They learn. Okay? If Okocha has not told that to the world, if Osimhen has not told that to the world, then I don't know what we are talking about. But yet, because of our inability to harness these talents and channel them through the right path, where we'll make them turn to those kind of superstars that the world will adore, we find it that we keep drawing matches with Zimbabwe, losing to Benin Republic, and things like that. You get it? So that is the challenge. If we look deep down, just go into the schools, you find a lot of talent. But are we able to pull them together so that the industry can make good use of them? That's where the challenge is.
Is the issue the same in the South? Because, I know as at 2018, when I was with Silverbird, rhythm was probably the only thing people were listening to in Bielsa. But now there's a whole lot of stations in Yenagoa. A whole lot of stations have been in Port Harcourt for a very long time. But if we take out Port Harcourt and Benin City, not even Asaba, it seems as if the same issue of capacity comes up again. It seems as if, with the exception of Benin City and Port Harcourt, the South itself has very, very few people, despite the large number of especially radio stations in the region. It's seemingly the same thing as the Southeast. Now, you have said the problem is harnessing and the fact that the region is exporting talent. Is that the same for the South as well?
Yes, it's even worse for the South. It's even worse for the South. And I think it is this our mindset, Nigeria generally. A lot of things are controlled by politicians today. And I believe a lot of politicians are watching me now. This is Eastern business, and they own most of the business, so they should be watching this show. Now, it's this lack of, I don't know even the language to use, it's lack of value for the media. Reports are out there that citizens still trust the media, especially traditional media. The trust for traditional media is still up high there, irrespective of what social media is doing. Okay? But is that value for the media? Our state governments are there. Go take my state, for instance, Delta State. It's an unfortunate situation that the two state stations, they have two solid state stations that have produced some of the great minds we want to think about in broadcasting, are there. They go on air today, tomorrow they are off air. And the state is supposed to be one of the richest states in the country. It's strange. That state also produced, which has gone off air now, Radio Jeremy. I remember we trained my popular friend, Rufai Husseini there long ago. The current BBC correspondent for West Africa was the head of programs of that station way back in 2006. That was the first private station in the entire South region. It's there. Started in Efrun there. Even though it's gone off air because the owner is late and I think the children are not ready to take up. We've had all these things, all these stations, opportunity, people, from there. But when the politicians who own 90% of these stations don't really value the media, the state governments don't value the media. They only come to the media when it's time for politics, then they want to put out propaganda or things like that. They forget that the media has an important role in helping them govern properly. So now that lack of value gets into the society also. And that lack of value leads to something you said in the introduction, lack of infrastructure and things like that. We thank God the internet is stable today and we're able to go on. In some other cases, you're trying to do a virtual program like this is breaking. You have all kinds of power challenges and things like that. How many stations are making enough money to buy diesel to run their gen and put the stations on air? There are so many things that are lacking. Okay, let's go to the federal level. The Nigerian Television Authority, I pray the NTA DG sees this, my good friend who has been trying to transform the place. But is it not strange that when we were young, we were watching NTA at DJ, which is a town just by Sapele, even though it was a feeder station from NTA Benin. But today, NTA Sapele they built the structure, but never took up till today. Radio Nigeria doesn't have a station in Delta State. So if we value the media very well as government, as politicians, we'll put the right infrastructure, we'll give the right support to the organizations, make them look good. A general manager of a station will be struggling to get access to even have a chat with the governor. I don't know how it is in Enugu State right now.
Well, to be fair, in the southeast, I think with the exception of Enugu, it's almost impossible to get access to state houses. You see people turning themselves to deities, and it's only when somebody attacks them on air, they suddenly have your number and start calling you. You know, when there's a crisis in their states. You know, and I mean, I'm not surprised you are giving us this insight. Most people, you are like the nervous system in the body. People don't see it, but it's always moving around the media. And you mentioned something that struck with me, which was training. How many people have been trained from these places? And you know, I think the analogy of football, because I'm also involved with Football Academy, training young boys, and I understand how everybody's dream. They are willing to run away to Bangladesh tomorrow morning if you allow them, because the currency is different. Mm-hmm. Is our capacity not suffering also because we are exporting the best talents and there's nobody to train or give the example, not just in presentation, but even in professional behavior? Because in capacity here, while talents may be here, lack of professionalism is also another key thing that affects capacity. Because if you are not professional, no matter how much talent you are, you will still be a burden on any media house. So, one, do you think that, you know, maybe we don't have people left behind to teach in the region? And secondly, what can be done to stem that tide so that the best don't get to a point and run away and leave nobody to set an example for the next generation?
You're very right, because I helped set up a couple of stations around support stations in the southeast and south-south, and it was a problem. That professionalism, now the talent is there. The talent is there, you could find it, but that professionalism was a problem. I remember in Imo State, I had to go recruit people from outside Imo State to come in just because all the people who were interviewing, even though they had the gift, they had the talent, they had the voice, they had the looks for TV, radio, everything was there. But that professionalism, that attitude was a problem. And that goes back to the society. What is going on in the way society values things like the way get rich fast and all those kind of things. Nobody wants to sit down, follow the process. This is what you need to learn to get to this level. So we are having that challenge. And you are right, because everybody that does well in the region, the next thing they're heading up to Lagos, heading up to Abuja, somewhere else, okay, to go. And because we do not have enough capacity building activities in the Southeast, we set up WABMA, the West Africa Broadcaster Media Academy, and that is one. How many are there? We've not really had so many of those kind of activities. Now, economically, people find it difficult to sponsor themselves to get trained. And that is why for so many years, since 1999, even when people criticize me, even when people mock me or laugh me, I still go ahead to do free trainings every time. Last year, I spent over a month in Delta State organizing free trainings in Asaba, Warri, Ugeli, and Efrun, you know, for people to come in to learn broadcasting. I shared it with officials of the state government and all those. Well, one official, called me to say, well done, you're doing well. You know, it was on the state news, the news on private stations there also. But after that, did anybody try to come and say, hey, young man, you're using your resources to do this. What can we do to support as a government, as whatever? Nobody does that.
To support and scale up.
Exactly. So because they don't value it, and you should know about media skills training and communication training. When you train young people on communication skills, it helps solve all these problems of Yahoo and all those kind of things that we have. I'll give you another example. We trained people in the entire Southeast under WABMA then on fact checking. Now, instead of people using their internet skills, their digital skills, and mind you, Nigeria has one of the most talented youth when it comes to digital skills in the entire world. Our internet market is the fastest growing in the world, and yet the government cannot see the need to make broadband and internet services easily available. A lot of Nigerians now are making money from remote jobs all over the world, not depending on our NEPA party work. They have to go create their own electricity to be able to do that, but it's there. So the question is, when you now train people on media skills, communication skills, it helps you show these young people other ways to use those skills to do wonderful things. Someone once said that for anybody to plot crime, to rob somebody or do something, the person must be very intelligent. That's the truth. So when you train them on these things, you show them other ways to use their intelligence to make a lot of money for themselves. I am here today, because while I was young, even before I got into the university, I started learning a lot of things. I'm not making money and working today with my master's degree in environmental resources planning as such. Is these media-related skills I learned from when I finished secondary school. That's what I'm still using till today. It shapes your life. It helps you to be disciplined. Now, if you learn, I keep saying this, program production is life. If you learn how to produce a radio or TV program properly, you will be disciplined. See, for this program to go on air now, you have to do a lot of work. It puts that thing in you. You understand? You can't come late. Anyway, I trust you. You will sack anybody that comes late, and you have to do that by setting an example for yourself. It also makes you, if you want to go into governance, you have this human heart, human feeling, because when you do programs, you're not doing programs for yourself. You're doing it for the society. There's this inbuilt compassion that comes into you. Because of the way you analyze things, it makes you see issues properly. So if a media person goes into governance, there's a tendency that rather than just taking rash decisions like we see a lot of our politicians and governors do today, they will take decisions that are well thought of and that will really improve lives. And then in the media, there is continuity. I produced Flavor, for instance, the most listened to youth show in Nigeria ever. But I was the second producer. The first was Perry, who also caught his teeth from Cosmo FM in the Southeast. After me, 5 other people produced that program, but you wouldn't see the difference. There's that continuity. It's the same, but what do we have in governance? A new person comes, even though the policy of the old one was good, they will just want to throw everything away because it's that. So broadcast and media training, communications training trains you to be a very good person. And if the government values the media and invests in training young people on these skills, I bet you a lot of the challenges we have in the South and Southeast, where people in some parts of the country who don't know the region very well think, oh, those of us from that region, oh, we don't like to go to school, we don't like to do this, we like to do that, we like to do that. No, I was the young camera guy in 1999 that filmed when the NDDC was about to be set up. Filmed the Senate Committee on Niger that are traveling around the 9 oil producing states. That was when we got into Yanogoa, then it was one way in, one way out. That was when I found out that the head of the Egbesu boys then had a master's degree. I studied geography, but guess what? It was from that guy I learned that the Lagos Lagoon was the deepest lagoon in the world, and I had to go research and find it. And that was when someone was given an excuse under PTF. While I was in Unijust, they were tying roads there in the north with PTF money, but they could not do any of such in the Niger Delta, claiming that the terrain was terrible. So if you could do the Third Mainland Bridge, on the deepest lagoon in the world, at one stage, the longest bridge in Africa, you couldn't do in the Niger Delta. It's strange. Are you getting? But you see, because of the level of that education, you know, now if we have more people like that being seen in the media, coming out in the media, young people in the region will begin to be inspired by these people and start wanting to be like them. You get it? But that is where everybody, government, businessmen, politicians, if you love the future of this country, invest in the media, not setting up stations all over the place for political reasons and leaving it to rot, not investing in training people. No, you have to go the full circle if you really want to do this.
Very, very, very insightful. I'm not surprised getting this much depth. I expected it from the beginning. And I'm not going to let you go without asking this particular one. There's another issue in the Southeast and South-South, which is data. Data on government, data on businesses. And there's even a problem of data on regional media in Lagos. Afia was in Lagos recently for a media parley, and we had to be explaining things. You'll be shocked when you hear who they even think are the top media houses in the region. You know, I know we depend on MPS for station ratings, but Dipstick and other research will show you that people don't even really know in the region who the top media houses are, what the top media content is, what the top topics are, and even when you try to push it out, there seems to be a kind of refusal, a kind of dissonance, like nobody wants to receive that information. Why is there a problem getting information in the region? And when you get it, why is there a problem with it being received outside the region?
Now, research is very, very expensive. For the years I worked with the BBC, the highest amount of budget sometimes goes into research. You can't imagine the amount of research that goes in. Now, it's very, very, very expensive. And you find some research organizations, I wouldn't say cut corners per se, but try not to go too deep because it will cost a lot of money. So you for instance, research on media will be done in the Southeast maybe once a year. It shouldn't be like that. Media is very dynamic. And then, you know, they'll start, doing estimates and things like, whereas things have changed over the next 2 months. So it's very expensive. That's one thing we need to know. Now, that is where the NBC needs to come in. I'm not talking about the NBC funding. Getting this research and this information is part of the core mandate of the NBC. Most of you only know NBC when it comes to fine. But NBC is huge on capacity building. I've said it so many times. And there's no way you can do capacity building and help the media to grow without having enough data and information. One of the reasons why the BBC content and everything the BBC does is always very successful is because a lot of funding goes into research. Before you see anything BBC come out, they've spent millions researching about it. So that is there. Now, what can be done is collaboration. That is the way. Now, let me share something that one of my good friends, Mr. Ike Okere, did in Enugu there. He inherited a station that was broke totally, had nothing. In fact, he was sent there to go raise the station from below the dead, something like that, the entire zone. And what did he do? He collaborated with institutions in the area. You have master's degree students, you have PhD degree students. Many of them do a lot of research on media, some peripheral aspects of the media. Now, the media too can come and approach these organizations, give them idea of what you want, for them to include it in their research topic. Now, he did that and did a little bit of research, which he used with master's students to get enough data that helped him to redesign programs, redesign content to suit. And before you know what was happening, within a couple of months, that station was up there. So that's one thing stations need to do, because research is very expensive. You can't depend on those research organizations. Unfortunately, organizations like BBC Media Action that used to do a lot of research, which we share sometimes with some partner stations, we know what the UK is like. The funding is not there anymore.
Yeah.
Now, this thing I said about value, because the government also does not value the media and all this thing. They don't value data gathering. They don't value all that. They don't do it. But one thing that has been happening since the setup of this digital economy thing and the new ministry, just yesterday, the Minister of Communications, Bosun, shared information on his LinkedIn page. He always does that, goes for conferences here and there. He's been made the vice chair of the ITU. Now, a lot of funding goes into data gathering in the telecoms and that sector. So it's now left for the broadcast sector to link up with that sector and partner. And the NBC has to lead this. You know, I thought this would have come up because these issues came up way back 2014, 15, 16, during the tenure of our own Dr. Emeka Umba as the MBC DG then, when we had the broadcast digitization summits in Lagos. So these issues came up. These collaborations were supposed to be done, even with some foreign organizations that were willing to invest in that sector. But unfortunately, over the last regime, the era of the Buhari regime, everything just was killed like that. We could have gotten funding and support from so many organizations to come in and do research, get data, and make this data available to stations, even if stations will be subscribing at a minimal amount. The current guys who do this research now, the MPS and all that, for them to do any research for you, it will cost them a lot. So if they charge stations how many stations are making enough money to be able to subscribe? So the motivation for them to even do this research is not there. So we are speaking to governments, the NBC, come together, you have the cloud, pull these ministries together, combine resources together, look for international partners to come in. And guess what? International organizations, they are looking for data from Nigeria, and they have the money. So it's for us to approach them or put it as for anybody coming to invest in this country, make it as one of the items that they need to do before you will give them oil block, before you will give them, business licenses.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
We need to set up something, and they'll invest in it. And that is the way to go forward, because it costs a lot of money. The stations cannot afford it, but stations can also collaborate together. And let me say this before I leave. I saw one news, of Afia TV collaborating with Signature TV. That was one of the best news I saw this year. When broadcast organizations can also come together, share resources, share information. Listen, see, competition is there. But the only way we could succeed is when we work together. The landscape, the space, the audience base for content in the media is wide enough for everybody. Some people think we have too many stations in Nigeria, and I lie, we don't have enough. We don't have enough, especially TV. We do not have enough. And with satellite now, you are not just broadcasting to Enugu, you are broadcasting to the entire world. So we don't have enough.
Thank you so much. I mean, very exhaustive, very informative, and yes, collaboration. You are a patron of our Guild of Media Managers, so how I feel about collaboration. It's something I believe everybody should do. Thank you so much, Ogaro, for being here this morning. I'm going to Ogaro, and as a Deltan myself, it pains me to hear Jeremy is off air. No Radio Nigeria in the States. I think only Akwa Ibom and Rivers are richer than Delta in terms of resources, and maybe with IGR you can only add Lagos. So it's a big shame, but we will keep doing our bit. I mean, a lot has been said today about how we can build capacity, how we can improve our research mechanisms. Thank you so much for being here this morning. We do appreciate, and we'll have you back again.
Definitely. And thanks for interviewing me. I call him the big man.
Thank you so much for being here. And that's all we can take on the Eastern Business Report. But Afia Business Morning is not yet over. If Unaya Ondole, the market Pekin, as she likes to be called, is waiting to take you to see the products and meet the traders. How market comes up right now. So stay tuned to DSTV channel 254 on DSTV, of course 17 on GoTV and 748 on Free TV. Till I see you at 10 a.m. on Monday for another edition of the Afia Business Morning. I'm Nnamdi Obaya saying, after your profitable business week, please do get some rest and bye for now.